Here's a question for you, friends. Which character in Star Wars was put through the most? Was it Anakin, the slave who was never truly free? Obi, the true Jedi Jesus who lost everything he ever cared for? Leia, for losing her entire planet? If you answered any of these, you'd be horribly wrong. It's obviously me, doing the Jedi Fallen Order no damage challenge. Duh. Hiya friends, I'm Shenanigoon, and here's the very simple rule for this challenge. Health bar goes down at all, reset to last checkpoint. Just seems like a really fun way to go insane. If Anakin wasn't worthy of being a master, neither are we. So let's go with Grand Master difficulty instead. Spoilers ahead, of course. Now let's get to the story and hope the Force is with me. I find myself as Cal Kestis, Padawan in hiding, and just trying to do a good job as a scrapper. My boss wants me to climb this highly unstable ship, but I manage to lose right away when I try and hitch a ride with him. I mean, why make me climb when we can just fly there? Harsh. Did I say this ship is highly unstable and dangerous already? Well, to prove my point, a cable breaks, sending my friend Prof and me falling to our deaths. Maybe chatting here above a giant sarlacc pit wasn't the best idea. Of course, an Imperial probe droid just happens to be right here and watches as I save Prof from his doom. What luck. Oh well, now the Inquisitors, the professional Jedi hunters, are here, killing Prof and dropping me off a cliff into a conveniently placed drain. That fall sure looked like it hurt, but I guess not, since no health drop for me. I wait patiently for these stormtroopers to arrest me, but they never do, so I'm forced to kill them and be on my way. It's a short way, when I manage to get shot over and over again by the easiest enemies in the game. When I finally do get past them, it's time for the first boss of the game, the Second Sister. I think the second in her name refers to how long I can last in a fight against her, because things do not go well. An epic battle ensues, and by epic, I mean I just keep force slowing her and getting in cheap shots. From a certain point of view, though, that can be interpreted as epic, and we Jedi love our certain points of view. I'm saved unexpectedly by Cere and Grease, a duel with the goal of restoring the Jedi Order. We head to Bogano, an idyllic little planet that the Empire has no idea exists. Seems like a perfect place to retire to, but Cere says, nah, and I'm forced to push on. I meet BD-1, the little droid that immediately decides he shall spend his life with me. Wish it was this easy to make friends all the time. Good thing I ran into him so quickly because I literally wouldn't be able to continue without him. Convenient! I come across some thick wires spraying electricity everywhere, and the game forces me to do the very clearly unsmart thing and slice right through them. Somehow, Cal did not realize how this would hurt a lot, and this is the only time in game where I have zero choice but to take damage to progress. Nice one, Cal. I watched some lizards do some sick wall runs, and envious, I remember that, oh yeah, I too know how to parkour. An old hologram man tells me I need to follow his path around the galaxy in order to find a holocron that will reveal all the Force-sensitive children left in the galaxy. Before I get on that, though, I decided to jump this giant frog boss, who I surprisingly beat on my first attempt. This may be the greatest and luckiest accomplishment of my entire life. Now that the ecosystem has been properly unbalanced, time to leave and start my journey. On Zepho, my first planet to visit, I discover a healing canister so that BD-1 can heal me more in battle. How wonderfully unhelpful. I continue my very un-Jedi-like business of slaughtering the planet's fauna, and while exploring through some caves, the planet attacks back by hitting me with an exploding plant. I may have had that one coming, but it doesn't mean I have to like it. In a flashback, I remember how my master used to chuck a heavy ball at me, and I just stood there like a champ taking it. I mean, sure, I was supposed to be force pushing it, but I'm clearly not doing that, and yet he's showing no mercy. These Jedi really don't like children, do they? In order to activate the elevator out of here, I have to solve a puzzle that requires force pushing a bunch of large balls around, and I just have to say, wow. I guess these aliens that built this place were never in a rush to get anywhere if it takes this much time just to turn on an elevator. A rocket trooper did his best to kill me, but he didn't seem to understand how strong these air vents are. When a large beast bursts through this wall, I get myself beat over and over again, but I find it especially awkward when he forgets to burst out. Guess he's getting embarrassed for me too and doesn't want to make it worse. Making it back to the ship, I find it under attack by an AT-ST. Boy, that ship sure can take a lot of damage. I should probably help it. Surprisingly, the large death machine goes down quite easily, being it only has 3 very predictable moves. When its pilot falls out, I show mercy like any good Jedi. Nah, not really. I immediately execute him. The Anakin way. I head to Kashyyyk, the planet of the Wookiees, and go for a swim. Away from the action though, those AT-ATs look dangerous. I could get hurt. Unfortunately, the game doesn't like me living the hermit life, and back I go. Thankfully, the AT-AT has super convenient vines and dirt coating in the exact spots that allow me to climb it. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. This is where the fun begins. I use my newly acquired AT-AT to send Qui-Gon and all the younglings a bunch of new friends. Breaking into the base, I use my amazing sneak skills to slip past the Imperial Force. I come across a room of troopers that also has a security droid in it, and I have to say how nice it is that the security droid chooses to respect the 3v1 before engaging me. Very polite. I get into another fight with an AT-ST, but halfway through it seems to forget what it came here for. Totally get that feeling. I've helped free the Wookiees, and they promised they'd shoot me an email when they locate Tarful, the chieftain I'm looking for, so back to Zepho while I wait. I've grown since I was last on Zepho, and now my skill's unrivaled. At least I could pretend that's the case till these two lowly henchmen managed to hit me upon my return. Fantastic. I decide to be a hero and save the stormtrooper from getting killed by this big old beast, but the moment he falls, I'm hit by a bolt from the stormtrooper I just saved. This is the only time I don't instantly quit to the last checkpoint, as I explain to this trooper why gratitude's important. I then of course head to join him before resetting. Time for round 2 with second sister. Well, round 2 for her. More like round 15 for me, as I get myself hit over and over again. I do learn very almost imperceptibly slowly, but I do actually learn. It turns out the glowy part of my weapon is supposed to hit her, and the glowy part of hers is not supposed to hit me. Crazy, I know. BD1 saves me from death, and thankfully it doesn't occur to the Inquisitor to use the Force on either of us. Phew! I discover a stormtrooper struggling, and so I did my best to give him a helpful push. I'm sure he's very thankful. I get into a fight on a giant sarcophagus and make it so a few Imperials need some coffins themselves. They try to do the same for me, and this seems like a great time to have a flashback. Thankfully, I remember how to force pull right then, saving my lightsaber and landing with heroic gusto. It's quite odd how the ship must have immediately flown away instead of waiting 2 seconds to see if I was dead. Works for me. I try to ambush some stormtroopers, but they vanish upon my arrival. Spooky. While trying to leave, I'm ambushed by a bounty hunter who manages to tase and then knock me out, which gotta say, I didn't lose any health, so I guess Cal's just being overly dramatic. I come across a gamer's worst nightmare, a save point, right before a large empty room. Yep, that's gonna be fun. The mobs themselves aren't actually too much trouble, but they do love to just keep coming. After what felt like 5 billion years in that little slice of hell, I finally escape back to Kashyyyk, where I spend perhaps too much time swinging on vines while Imperials stare on in disbelief. It's awkward when I finally land and immediately get hit. Fun stuff. I give back to nature by feeding some giant plant traps, a few tasty stormtroopers, then take on 2 huge spiders who are literally beat with the exact same tactic, one after the other. I'm guessing the second one just thought he was built different. Right above where I fought those spiders, I finally find Chieftain Tarful and his rebel allies, which, come on, they really just watched me fight all those beasts instead of, helping? Fantastic allies. The Ninth Sister corners me high up in the trees and actually thinks to shoot at me with her ship. Thankfully, instead of being empty space, the most conveniently placed mudslide is right beneath me, allowing me to go on a fun little journey. I do love how Cal doesn't say a word to any of this and just silently accepts this turn of events. Even when I should definitely fall to my death, the bounciest mushrooms ever happen to be exactly where I need them. The Force really isn't being subtle about wanting Cal Kestis alive. When death seems certain, a giant glorious bird of myth randomly appears, saving my life. Cal Kestis may not be the strongest Jedi ever, but he certainly is the luckiest. When I track down my savior, I find it hurt, and Cal uses a single healing stem on the bird, why only one? It's not like I'm using them. No need to be greedy with them, Cal. Thankfully, it works anyways, and the bird flies me to where I can turn my single blade into a double-sided blade, which, Cal never even completed his Padawan training. When did he get the chance to learn how to use a double-sided blade? Well, even if I'm 90% more likely to chop my own limbs off, it's worth it to look this cool. While having a nice moment with my new best friend, the Ninth Sister attacks again, shooting away my bird and trapping me here. Thankfully, the logic of just killing me with her ship has gone away, and she decides to do this herself. She does a pretty good job of making my life difficult, but I do pick up on her moveset pretty quickly. Her single blade fighting is wonderfully easy, but then she has to go ruin my fun by showing off her double saber too. Everyone knows you become 100% cooler and harder to beat with double the blade. Qui-Gon knows at least. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to apply to me. After about 25 to 30 times of wrecking her in single blade combat, then getting promptly crushed in the second phase, I finally managed to make it through the whole fight without getting damaged. Sure, I did it at a snail's pace, but I still did it. Thankfully, my bird friend is still alive. He was just respecting the 1v1 and now flies me back to safety. Time for Dathomir, an inhospitable, barren landscape with brutal beasts and angry natives everywhere. But hey, there's a pretty lady here, and that makes it all worth it. I may not be the best at reading signals, but trying to kill me, that means she cares about me, right? These guys have some pretty impressive magics, as is clearly seen with this Night Brother here. Very intimidating how he holds the mace with his face. While exploring, I come across a hooded stranger, and I don't mean to judge a book by its cover, but boy does this dude give off I'm gonna be a boss fight vibes. I decide the murderous Night Sister is better company, and she introduces me to her family. We just met, so I feel like meeting the family is going a little too fast in this relationship. But I admit, killing them all might not be the best way to earn her affection, even if they're already dead. What can I say? I'm an introvert. When I fall into a beast lair, I'm stunned by its ability to walk without moving any of its limbs. This land really is magical. I also learned that a good defense really is the best offense when I get an instant kill just for deflecting its attacks. I come across a dead Night Brother before noticing a giant bat hiding from me in the corner of this cave. I can't really blame the bat for defending itself in its own home. It took me several tries to beat him, but this poor huge boy is surprisingly one of the easiest bosses in the game. While I'm climbing to safety, he makes his surprise return and takes me for a flight. While falling, I try to land on him, but miss horribly. Thankfully, this game is unexpectedly forgiving and I don't even lose health for it. Cal Kestis has plot armor like no one else. The bat takes a nap and I head off for a traumatic flashback. I hang out with some clones, which isn't too odd being we're all about 13 years old at this time, thanks to their advanced aging. Heartbreaking stuff. Moments later, Order 66 is called and my master's killed protecting me and I break my lightsaber in my rage, which of course is the best time to be attacked by a zombie horde. Yep, life is going good. I flee the planet and head to Ilum to build my new lightsaber. Thankfully, Ilum has 0 threats, which is super handy since I don't have a lightsaber. I do manage to get myself nearly frozen to death and the crystal I find snaps in two. So yeah, that's that. Game over for me. I'll just freeze to death. But then, BD1 pops up with the hologram man who gave me this quest in the first place. One motivational speech later, and I'm good as new. I'd have preferred a fire, but I'll take what I can get. Now that I have a proper lightsaber, the Empire shows up. What bad timing for them. If they had literally showed up 2 minutes before, I wouldn't have had my lightsaber and been easy to kill. Getting through them doesn't take long, but upon exiting I have to fight 2 ATSTs. Sort of. One takes me on right away, but the other seems preoccupied. I try to leave without fighting it, but my cowardly teammates refuse to open the door for me. With that done, I head back to Dathomir, where I decide to meditate surrounded by zombies. Nice and peaceful. The path forward is blocked by bounty hunters, but a well-timed sneaky attack deals with the main threat. The other one is very despondent over the loss of his friend, I guess, because he simply allows himself to fall to his death. Works for me. I find my master in a vision again, and this time I pass the test by not fighting back. But that's only in a vision, you know. I'm still gonna be violent as heck normally. The Night Sister shows up again, and instead of fighting her, I give her my lightsaber. The reverse psychology works wonders, and she decides to be friends. Yes! The creepy robed man from before is waiting for a good old-fashioned boss fight, and I'm all for it. Only problem is, he's very skilled at it, and that makes me sit through these 2 long cutscenes over and over again. That's when I get the message my master was trying to tell me. I let Malicos, the boss here, kill me! Then I immediately save at the checkpoint upon spawning so that I won't have to spend any more time with these cutscenes. I lose so many times to Malicos here that I spend more time with him than any other character in the game pretty much. Seer and Grease, who needs him? Malicos might as well be family now. It may take a while, but I finally lucked my way to victory without damage. Honestly, I'm gonna miss Malicos. He was like the crazy homicidal father I never had. I collect my prize, the key to getting the holocron, and head back with Marin, the Night Sister, to Bogano, where this began. I look at the man in the mirror and come to the realization that if I start gathering all the Force-sensitive children around the galaxy, what will Luke get to do when he's old enough? Skywalkers are known for being trustworthy around kids, after all. At least I'm pretty sure that was the moral I learned. I would have thought more about it, but the second sister attacks again. How did she find this planet? No idea, but it sure is inconvenient. I've learned a lot since we last met though, so time to get my butt kicked, it seems. Second sister here is done holding back, and I'm thankful when she leaves after a short fight. I've lost the holocron though, and need to chase after her to Fortress Inquisitorius for a final showdown. I try once again just to swim away, but the Force really wants me to face my destiny, so on I go. It doesn't bode well when I get shot right away, but to be fair, I didn't expect the bolt to go straight through the other trooper. I get so good at getting my butt kicked here over and over again that I have it down to a science on beating this dark dojo. Sure, it's a tad unfair of me, but I'll do whatever evens the odds. Finally making it to the end, I have one important note for the Empire. Invest in guardrails. If they love lava and heights so much, guardrails would be really handy. I'm thankful there's a save point right before the final boss room, because I have as little faith in myself as the game does by putting that there. The second sister has returned for the 3rd time, cementing her place as my Pokemon rival, and I'm prepared to unleash everything I've learned upon her. Step 1. Die. No more cutscene now. Step 2. Lose a ton more, but not on purpose. Step 3. Learn agonizingly slowly. Step 4. Almost win. Step 5. Don't. Step 6. Fall to your knees and cry for a bit. Step 7. Repeat steps 2 through 6 for hours. Step 8. Win! Step 8 is not always guaranteed, but I finally managed it. Some would call it luck, some would call it skill, and maybe some would call it the will of the Force. But the first group would honestly be the right ones. I'm just a very, very lucky Jedi. That luck turns straight to us, though, when in comes the Nightmare himself, Morbius. Oh wait, sorry, wrong timeline. Darth Vader. This game quickly turns into a horror game as Vader plays with me, able to kill me at any moment, but thankfully only killing a bunch of stormtroopers. I make the elevator with Vader nowhere in sight, but my hopes turn to mush when I notice him just standing there looking cool. He'd probably be more effective if he didn't pose so much, but I gotta say, he certainly knows how to work it. What a stylish menace. I almost get out free when he continues his teleportation trick and catches me off guard. He turns my lightsaber to kill me, which no one tell him it's a double-sided blade, please. And my end seems certain. Regardless of anything though, I did it. I beat Jedi Fallen Order without taking any damage. It was an effort, but it was worth it. Over 300 failures at the very least. But failure is the greatest teacher, supposedly. Only problem is, I'm an awful student. I hope you all enjoyed watching. I truly enjoyed playing it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, as it helps a lot. Subscribe if you really liked it and want to see even more challenges and shenanigans from yours truly. Whatever the case, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day. Go be as good of a friend as BD1 has been to Cal. See you later, friends!